Yeah, but the Obama bought several trillion AR-15s and like several million and 1 trillion rounds of ammo. And it's scattered around the U.S. in depots and different agencies of the government. Also, I've heard on Indian reservations that there's some very left-wing tribes, and they have depots of this. And what we just saw arrive in the last 4 years in the U.S. was the Army, was the weight. What they learned in 2020 is they don't have the weight. The Antifa boys, the latte boys, can't do the trick. They needed this 20 million man military-age men to show up and be part of a civil war. And the arms are already scattered around the country. So we really dodged a bullet. I just hope that Trump does the muscular things that are needed. But I think he will.
You do?
I do think he will. I think that he's got some people who are not on board. That clip I showed you today tells me that John Ratcliffe and the CIA are not on board, but Kash Patel is. And Tulsi Gabbard, look at her courage and integrity.
How much do we love Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah, a lot.
She's great. She
Boy,
lives here too.
I loved Tulsi before it was cool, for the record.
she lives where?
She lives in Austin.
I didn't know that. I think she's fantastic.
Isn't she great?
She's been on here.
Back her for president.
I would too.
I think that she's great. If you're first woman president, let it be her.
It could be
Let it
her.
be a woman of accomplishment like her.
That would be
from
a nice
Hawaii.
change, right? Make a good female candidate for once,
But
put it
a
up.
woman that really deserves it.
That
Of course,
did stuff.
everybody's has their opinions,
Boy, she's
tough as nails.
I think she's got judgment, and she's smart, and she's experienced, and she's a lieutenant
And
colonel.
plus, she's from Hawaii, so she gets,
Corruption.
kama'aina. She gets community and caring for the land and all those spiritual things.
Yeah.
She's not just, an egghead.
Yeah.
Patrick, so China uses the Venezuela cartel. I mean, we've all seen that clip. I forget his name, Yuri Brezhnev. Thank you. KGB and whatever that is now, I always forget. FSB. They're not doing any of this? Or are they in cahoots with China? Is it really just
Well, it
China?
all comes from KGB, don't it?
Well, the techniques, Leninism. Lenin was a great master of this kind of revolutionary theory. And he took it from being sort of this, under Marx, it's just this broad mass class consciousness does the work. Lenin said, no, there's going to be this small number among us who understands the gearing of society. We, the party, are the vanguard of the masses. And then you get Trotsky, who is adamant that it has to be global. It has to be a global it's what we're facing is neo-Trotskyism. People want a global revolution, and the new headquarters is going to be some Central European. I think that they want to turn the UN, the WHO, BIS, IMF. They want them all to be located together somewhere in Central Europe.
I think so too.
And the rest of the world is just
in Berlin.
Yeah.
So the American individual, the American capitalist is their biggest fear, right?
Switzerland or Ukraine. There's a theory that they really want.
Yeah,
the reason they're leveling Ukraine to rubble, which they are, for no good reason, which they are, when there's a perfectly acceptable alternative, which there was. The reason they're doing that is they sort of don't want it back as Ukraine. They want it as this new country that's going to be this,
a NATO outpost.
Yeah, but also sold as some they see a post-NATO kind of day where it's
like Dubai. That's what I think.
Dubai.
Yeah. But it's the WEF. Everything moves there, and there's even been some. It's supposed to be rebuilt like a Dubai, like this super modern country.
Built back better.
Yeah, they're 15-minute cities. But what do you think the odds are that we're going to win?
Well, the odds are infinitely better than they were before Trump won.
Right.
So much better. Because at least now, if the Chinese actors inside the U.S. or the Venezuelan actors go crazy, we have a president who will say, China, we'll take steps against you. We will nuke you. If you're committing an act of war against us, if your people go nuts here, we're holding you responsible. We can shut off your grid. We can shut off your power plants too and everything. Well, people don't talk about that, but as much as we fear their capabilities against us, we have equal capabilities against them. But we did not have a president who would use it. We had a president who I think his game was to let it happen and say, I couldn't stop it.
Yeah. Paid off.
I told you that I'll send you the clip. The president of Venezuela said said, don't get mad at us. Biden, check with your FBI offices in Colombia and Panama. Biden told us to send you these Trinidad people told us to send you these.
Of course he did.
So that was their plan.
Yeah.
He said, I'll make the documentation available for the world's reporters to see. This is just a week ago. The president of Venezuela is saying, don't blame us. Biden told us to send these people.
Well, Trump has to basically remake the entire world, doesn't he? To get rid of what we all call the deep state. Is he going to be able to do that? It seems like, well, I don't even want to say anything. I'm waiting for one effing arrest. I keep looking for it. I mean, people say, oh, they were arrested, but nobody can know it or some crap.
No.
But I want to see a big fucking arrest.
We need arrests. It's time. I'm bloodthirsty, and I'm going to get pissed.
I'm confident, and I say this as, no one is more of a jihadi about this than I am, right? No one's more extreme than I'm DHS domestic extremist number one. I'm confident we're going to see the arrests. We're going to see justice done before we all before we all croak, before we get through this year, maybe before 4th of July, I would imagine. I don't think that there's any good reason that they need to go any longer than that. And maybe they go.
I don't either. What's all this that Trump has said about April 2nd was
the Tariff Day, Liberty Day?
Liberty Day. Do you know anything about that?
Reciprocal tariffs.
Switching to tariffs, adopting tariffs.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. They think they will generate about $500 billion per year.
Why did no one ever think of that?
Well,
is it all just because they were just compromised by the grift they were putting in their own pockets?
We did all think of that. That's how it used to work. Then 100 years ago, it was replaced by income tax and the central bank, the Federal Reserve. 110 years ago, it was all, but that's how it used to operate.
Right.
Operated off tariffs and no income tax. And what's interesting, if we're $2 trillion deficit, if Elon can cut $1 trillion, and we can raise $500 billion by that makes our deficit something very manageable, down to 2% a year, less than 2% a year GDP. Of course, we want to get it to zero. So you have to do then real $500 billion of real cost cutting. But just eliminating fraud and graft, Elon thinks he can get to $1 trillion. He's, I think, close to a couple $100 billion he's already knocked out.
What do you think of him? I like
Elon. I like Elon a lot. I think he's a great patriot. I think he's a great patriot. I know some people are worried about his love of technology, maybe, but he's a real patriot, and he gets that civilization was coming to its. I mean, it came down to.
I think so too.
If we had lost that election, I think it was the end of civilization.
I do too.
I didn't see a way out. Well, I actually thought it was going to be a civil war. I was setting up for a civil war.
I thought the first thing they would do is nuke Israel, like they say in Iran they want to do. From 7 different fronts, like they've been trying to do, but they've held back on using nukes. But, the whole Iran nuclear deal is for that aim, and they bullshit us into not seeing that one either.
Well, it isn't that Obama didn't see it. Obama's playing for the other side.
Yeah.
No, I know, but nobody saw that. I mean, I say all the time, America is so racist that they thought by electing a black guy, they could dismantle middle-class black America as well and create and overthrow governments all around the world with impunity, sell arms, sell children, traffic drugs.
I would love some black people to be president. I can give a list of about 20 black people who I would love to be president, of course, starting with Thomas Sowell.
Yeah.
Kathy Burnett, Walter Williams being among them. They're the best. The Frederick Douglass Society people are the black Republicans. I love them. You should have them on someday. They have quite a story. And Frederick Douglass was the greatest Republican of all time. Of all time?
Well, he founded the Republican Party. And I think black people did save America in this election by voting Trump. I always thank them. They saved America, along with a lot of people on the team.
Good for you. Good for you. I was so happy to hear that Trinidad, one of their missions here was to hook up with black gangs.
Big mistake.
And try to turn them against whites. And they were doing this in Chicago. Yeah. And what I've told is the black gangs everywhere sided with the whites.
They did.
That
is true.
So I love it. I love it.
I wasn't
it's a whole
surprised
new
by
day now, and we see
That's
the
a story
truth
we
now.
need to know. We know that they sided.
we need to know.
You saw it happen in real time.
Well, it's freedom against tyranny. And that's what America's about, right?
Hoo-ah. Whoever thought we'd be saluting some black gangsters in Chicago?
Oh, you see, my patience is growing thin.